All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome you. My name's Steve Layson. I'm part of the ministry team here at Gerringong Anglican. It's really lovely to have you with us. I hope you've come ready and raring for a really exciting morning of some beautiful music. Firstly, I just want to say this is part of our, we have a group at our church called the Explorers group. We run a whole lot of different activities throughout the year for people who are, let's say, youth challenged, perhaps, seniors and retired groups. So I'll tell you a little bit more about our next thing coming up. It's really exciting, so I hope you're able to come and join us. Just a couple of quick announcements before we get going. First one is if you need the bathrooms are through this door here. The ladies are to the left and the gentlemen to the right. If you are on a walker and find it hard to do stairs at all, it is possible to go right round. We apologise. If anyone's got a couple of $1 million to help us build a new building, we're going to do that. But yes, you can actually get round through this door into there. Which leads me to the next thing, is about emergencies. I hope there's not going to be any emergencies, but the usual activity when there is an emergency is to stand and run on the spot and scream. But once you've done that, there are two exits. The door you came in through, of course. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, this Jim just telling us that we need to make sure you turn off your phones. So if you could do that, that would be really good. Thank you. I'll just do that for me now. It'd be really embarrassing if your phone rang while you're talking. That would be really bad. So yes, thank you for that. So the exits are the back there, and there is an exit here near the gentleman's toilet. So you can go either way. For those things, if there's an exit. Also, we actually just got a defibrillator this week, so if anybody wants to have a heart attack today's a good day to do it. Maybe better not. So the way this morning's going to run is there'll be about 3/4 of an hour or so set that April's going to be playing, and then we're going to have an intermission. And so morning tea will be provided. It'll be outside, so we'll go out and enjoy the beautiful sunshine that God's put on for us today. If you want to get a cup of tea or coffee, you get it from the sliding door that you'll find at the very back of this hall, just right near where Daryl's speaking there. You'll see there's tea and coffee, but the food will be outside, and so you can go out there. If you can't make it outside, like if it's a bit too much of an effort, once the hall's cleared a bit, we can bring you some morning tea to where you're sitting. So if you just, for mobility reasons, you find it hard to get outside, that's fine. And so what we do, so tea and coffee there, it'll be about 30 minutes intermission, and then after that we'll encourage people to come back in, and there'll be another set of music. We'll have a short talk from some bloke that you'll see then, just talking about what our group's all about, and also what's happening in the next activity that we're doing. And then after the second set, at the very end of the morning, it'll probably be afternoon by then perhaps, feel free to hang around for as long as you like. I've never been in an activity at this church where there's not been enough food, so there'll be leftovers. So we'd really love it if you could stay and help finishing it off. That would be really great. I think that might be all. So thanks for coming today. It's really great to have you with us, and I'm just going to hand straight over to April Hudson. Give her a round of applause.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. And it's been a long time coming. We had a few little mishaps last year and we had to postpone, so I'm really excited. And I'd just like to start with a few thank yous. Thank you so much, Gerringong Anglican Church. This is just a beautiful event and you've just done an amazing job. Everything looks really fantastic. You guys have been helping me out last night and setting up, and I really thank you, and I hope this is a blessing. Secondly, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. This is a bit of a chilly day, and I really appreciate it, and I hope that you guys just really enjoy everything, all the music that I play today. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about myself first. One second. A little bit about the program. So the first half is just going to be cello, the whole set. So it's going to be cello plus this fantastic thing that I have down at my feet, which is a loop station, and that basically allows me to record and then play back in a short segments, and it just allows me to create more effectively and basically perform as a soloist. And then the second half is I'm going to start with some piano, then add piano and cello, then do a bit of cello and singing, and then nearly finish with a song with all three. So I've been trying to work on doing everything at once, and then finish off with one of my favourite cello songs. So as you know, this is cello, but it looks a little bit different. Yes, it's not your eyesight. It is hollow. It is a Yamaha silent cello, so they made it look a bit like a cello. Still plays the same way. So I'm a massive cello advocate. I love it when I get to play and just let people experience what a fantastic instrument this is. It's just for all those who haven't been initiated, I'd love to give you this opportunity of just showing you all the things that it can do. It's not just an instrument that, is stuck in the past. Certainly not in the shadow of the violin, I don't think anymore, thanks to lots of beautiful groups like Two Cellos. I don't know if anyone's heard of Two Cellos. See a few nods and a few hands, yay! So there's been a lot of artists that have used the cello to really bring it into the forefront and to show what a versatile instrument it is. So a little bit about me with my musical background. I grew up in Melbourne. I was really fortunate to study classical music, first quite intensely on the piano for quite a few years, and then I found the cello at the age of 14, and it's like a duck to water, and within a few months I was playing in orchestras and ended up having the privilege of playing with the Melbourne Youth Orchestra. I worked with Melbourne Symphony Orchestra as a composer, and then when I moved to Wollongong, I played with the Wynn Wollongong Symphony Orchestra, which was a great delight. And since then I've kind of been just, I chose not to study music or do music as my full-time profession, so I've always looked for opportunities, and those opportunities are forming small groups and playing at weddings and functions. So that's what I've pretty much done for about 15 years actually, and gradually over the years I've basically been bumping people off, and now I'm just solo with my looper, so I really enjoy that. I thoroughly enjoy weddings. So a lot of the songs you'll hear today have been requests from weddings. I've put in a few extra ones as well, but I'm going to start with probably a little bit of an overplayed one, but it's still incredibly beautiful song, and that's Pachelbel's Canon. So next 6 songs, tried to choose a song from each decade. So from the 1960s to 2010 with Taylor Swift, I've chosen a song that I've really enjoyed playing from each of those decades. So I hope there's something for everyone's taste. And this is not a serious classical concert, okay? So if you guys feel like singing, go ahead and sing, okay? It is not the first time it's happened. If there's plenty of room up the back to dance as well, if you feel up for it as well. So please don't be afraid. You're not going to put me off at all. The only time I've ever been put off is when someone took a photo in my face while I was playing. So please enjoy it and express yourselves as you see fit. So. Next song, I'm going to do a bit of a different take on All You Need Is Love. So I've kind of modified the key signature just to fit in with the looper a little bit better. So yeah, here we go. I'm going to play Never Gonna Give You Up. Thank you. I don't know whether that's a corny song to everyone else. Is it corny or is it just a great song? Yeah? Okay. Cool. I'm going to share something a little bit personal. Both me and my husband, we grew up in households where, mainstream music was pretty much forbidden, so we weren't allowed to listen to anything other than classical music or sacred hymns, which was really, really interesting. But then when we both left home, I think we really just dove into the whole pop culture and working out all and listening to all the things for the first time that all of our peers had heard their whole lives. And, they'd been singing all these songs with their parents in the car on the way to school, their whole life. They knew all these things, and we just, me particularly, I'd binge watch movies and just listen to anything I could get my hands on. So I found that really interesting. Like I love learning new music now because of that. It's really brings a lot of joy to my life. So anyway, I worked on this for quite a long time, and I thought I'd almost caught up, right? And I went to a wedding, a co-worker's wedding, and all my work friends were there, quite a close group, most people my age, and we're on the dance floor at the reception and dancing away, and I said, and I didn't realise, and I shouldn't have said it, but and I said, "Oh, this is a really good song. Like, what is it?" And they just all stopped and they looked at me and they're like, "How have you never heard of Bohemian Rhapsody?" Like, and I'm just like, oh dear. So they spent the next year educating me. Every Friday we would have these pop quizzes, and they'd be like, "We're doing songs from the 80s, and now we're doing songs from the 90s." And it was a bit of torture, but I really appreciated that. So now the greatest thing I love about doing weddings is actually when people give me their requests, because sometimes I get songs that I've never heard, and I always think, this must be a really special song for someone to choose it for the most important day of their life. And it's always just like Christmas, not that we had that either, but it's always like, opening up, a present in the morning and on Christmas Day, and it's always just such a delight. So, that's why I love doing weddings. So next one I'm going to play is Fields of Gold, which I don't get to play at weddings very often, but I thought I'd play it today. The next one I'm going to play is Yellow. It's seems to be really popular at weddings at the moment, which is great because I love playing it. Last song in this set is Love Story, Taylor Tay Tay.
Well, hasn't it been a beautiful morning so far? Hasn't the music been fantastic? There's a lot more to come, and so when April comes back, we're going to be doing as you said, we're going to do all sorts of different things she's going to be doing. Just before she does come back, though, I just want to just share a few thoughts with you. I don't know if you ever thought about this question: why do people write music? We've been hearing some beautiful music. There's all sorts of different reasons why people write. Some people write for love. Some people write because their hearts have been broken, because they're joyful, because they're sad, because they're lonely, because they're patriotic, because they, as a response to injustice, those kinds of things, or perhaps even just because they've been taking too many drugs. I don't know. People write music for all sorts of different reasons. And some music that people write is objectively absolutely beautiful. I'm going to play a few clips, just very short clips from a few different songs. And I think this one always reminds my daughter, as she was learning to play piano in about 6th or 7th grade. This is one of her pieces, and I absolutely love it. I hope you do. I wanted to keep going. I would have wanted to play the whole thing. It just reminded me of this, as I say, listening to my daughter in the lounge room, just playing that was just beautiful piece of music. So sometimes when people write music, it's absolutely stunning like that. Sometimes, well, it's a little bit more banal. That's a song called Crazy Frog, if you want to look that up. It's the high point of 90s and 2000s music. Now, you may or may not be aware that much music, much art and literature too, is actually inspired by people's faith in God. And I want to think about that for a moment. Some of the most famous composers were inspired to write by their faith in God. So you may have heard of this guy, Johann Sebastian Bach. This is what he said. He said, "Music's only purpose should be for the glory of God and the recreation of the human spirit." It's a gift that God's given us to build up our spirits. But it wasn't just Bach who thought that. Mozart also said, "God is ever before my eyes. I realise his omnipotence and I fear his anger, but I also recognise his love, his compassion and his tenderness towards his creatures." He was inspired by his relationship with God, as was Beethoven. Beethoven wrote, I will place all my confidence in your eternal goodness, O God. My soul shall rejoice in thee, immutable being. Be my rock, my light, forever my trust." So each of these men were inspired by their faith in God, and people, again, throughout the ages have been inspired by their experience of God. And one of them was actually described by each of those three composers, Bach, Mozart and Beethoven, as the greatest, they thought was the greatest composer ever. And this clip is a little bit longer because I think this is just magnificent. But this is written by a guy by the name of Handel. Amazing piece of music, isn't it? Fantastic. You did very well not to stand up, actually, can I say? Well done. I actually fell in love with that that particular part of the piece of music when I was going out with who's now my lady, who's now my wife. I used to go and watch her. She performed in the town hall. Has anyone get the opportunity to do that, to sing in the Messiah? Yeah, a few people. And I used to go and watch it, and I was actually going for the music, but anyway. So some people who are inspired by their faith have written some really wonderful, uplifting and moving music. Some people, not so much.
Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is my friend. Jesus is a friend of mine. I have a friend in Jesus. Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is my friend. Jesus is a friend of mine. He taught me how to live my life as it should be. He taught me how to turn my cheek when people laugh at me. I've had friends before, and I can tell you that he's one who will never leave you flat.
I'm sorry that's the last clip, because that's the one that you'll remember. Anyway. Jesus is a friend of mine. You can listen to that one later if you like. But whether they've done it brilliantly like Handel, or whether it's been not quite so much, where it's more like the Jesus is my friend end of the spectrum, many people have written inspired by their faith in God to write. And to just think about why that is, I just want to think about one of the most famous Christian songs that was ever written, the song Amazing Grace. You all know it well. It's famous, of course, has deep significance for Christians around the world, but also for in the secular world. Some of you will remember Barack Obama actually just broke into singing this at the as part of his eulogy after the Charlestown massacre. And I just want to think a little bit about that particular song, Amazing Grace. There's the first verse. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. This beautiful song was written by a guy by the name of John Newton. Looked something like that for his sins. And John Newton spent the first part of his life as a sea captain, actually on a ship that was carrying slaves. And so he would ferry slaves in or out of Africa. And so he was not a good man. However, in 1748, on board his ship, the Greyhound, a fierce storm hit his ship, and it looked like they were going to die. They were all going to die, and so, unlike many other people who in a similar situation, Newton cried out to God. He said, "God, if you rescue me, I will spend the rest of my life serving you," which is a very dangerous prayer. Because God did rescue him, and miraculously his boat was saved, and he managed to come ashore. And he actually then, from that point, became a minister, a little bit like me. And about 20 years later, he wrote Amazing Grace. And so the question I want to think about is, what does he mean about that? What does he mean by grace? I don't know if you know what that word means. Basically, the Bible used that word quite a bit to describe an undeserved gift that comes from God. You see, Newton, in his own estimation, realised that he was a wretch. He was a scoundrel. What kind of person would trade in human flesh? It's a terrible thing to do. In many ways, he was the last person that you expect God to be interested in. The last one that God would want to rescue. He didn't deserve anything from God. And yet, God rescued him. He had a pretty similar view of the way the world operates as many people do, and many religions operate this way, on a kind of user pays kind of idea, that whatever you put in, that's what you get out. If you want something from life, you want something from God, you've got to put something in to get something out of it. To get something good from God, you've got to earn it. Even those, I think, who without a religious faith had that kind of idea. I think a lot of us are driven by that idea that good things happen to good people, or people who put the hard yards in. Have you ever thought of that? Whereas I think it's the bad people. They're the ones who deserve the bad things to happen to them. And I think a lot of us operate on that kind of way of thinking. But God's not like that. The Bible tells us that actually there's nothing we can do to earn God's favour. In fact, the Apostle Paul, who might have looked something like that, who knows, wrote this. He says, "It is by grace you have been saved through faith in Jesus Christ. And this is not from yourselves, it is a gift from God." You see, the rescue that John Newton, not Isaac Newton, Freudian slip there. John Newton, the rescue that he was talking about is not about the sinking of his rescue from the sinking ship, but that he realised that all the things that he'd done, all the terrible things he'd done, could only be wiped away by what Jesus had done. God opened his eyes. He was literally blind to what he could see, all his faults. But Jesus opened his eyes and then healed him. And of course, the same is true for each one of us. It doesn't matter who you are, what you've done. There's nothing that you can do that can put you beyond God's ability to forgive, to give you a fresh start. His forgiveness is free, which is one of the reasons why this concert is free. I don't know if you've wondered why we haven't asked anyone to pay for this concert, but one of the reasons we've done that is because we want to give a little bit of a picture of the free gift that God's given to us that we want to share with you. And so there's no obligation to give donations or anything. We're very happy to share this with you, as God is with his love. Now, I don't want to take any more of your time up, but I just want to encourage you that just to think about that wonderful truth as we're thinking about listening to beautiful music, to ponder on that wonderful truth. I think many people write off Christianity because of the damage they've seen it do in the world. And maybe sometimes really bad damage that you've seen, things like the Crusades. Sometimes it's just the damage of terrible music, like that last song. Or it may be something you've experienced in a church in the past, the way Christian people have treated you in the past. But I want to say to you that the Christian message is actually, it's got something really beautiful at its heart. And it's this idea of grace, this gift from God. It's the chance to have all of our brokenness forgiven and have a fresh start. If you want to find out more about that amazing grace, feel free to grab me at the end, or maybe the person who invited you to come. I'd love to talk to you more about that. But we're going to go into the concert in a moment. Before we do, I just want to tell you some of the things that we do as we work with seniors in our area. We've had a couple of things going on during this year, but the next thing we've got happening is on the Saturday the 9th of September, which is our Seniors Expo. And so we're going to be having a number of hours throughout the day on the Saturday, and we're going to have a whole of different presenters in the hall and in the church. We'll be moving around, we'll have food and all those kinds of things. And we've got lots of people coming to speak about different things that you might be interested in. So, give you a bit of a taste. We've got one person who's going to be speaking about how to write a novel. In fact, this person's actually written 2 novels, who's going to be speaking about that. And so if you feel like you've got that book in you that you want to get out, he'll be able to help you with that. A mother of somebody really famous is coming to speak about an introduction to calligraphy. And so she's won prizes. This woman has won prizes at the Easter show and been a judge at the Easter show to talk about calligraphy. Somebody's doing a presentation on the different walks you can do around Gerringong and in a local area. We've got people coming, if you're interested in how to sell your house, what do you have to go through to do that? Legal issues that might impact you as you get older, financial planning principles, how to plan a big trip. We've got a travel agent coming to talk about how you go about planning a big trip. We've got the chaplain from the Sydney Olympic Games and also from the London Olympic Games coming to speak as well. So we've got all sorts of different things happening. There's a lot more going on. There'll be food, there'll be music, all sorts of things. So I hope you can come and join us. It's Saturday the 9th of September. It should be a really great day. I think that's all from me. I'm going to hand it back over to April. So thanks very much.
my piano teacher when I was growing up, she's always like, play fast songs, show your technique, blah, blah, blah. So it's little wonder I got RSI at the age of 14. Too much Beethoven, too much Rachmaninoff. So so that was a song that I learnt in my youth, which I just thought I'd just share. But now I love to play slower and a little bit more thoughtful songs. So I'm going to play River Flows in You by the Japanese composer Yiruma. I'm going to start to do a little bit of mixing of 2 instruments at a time now. So I'm going to play a piano song that is from the movie Amelie. Who's seen Amelie? Anyone? Yay! Love Amelie. So this is a little bit of a minimalist song, and it works great with the looper. And I'm going to start it with the traditional piano bit and then add the cello. Here we go. So after the lockdown, I quickly discovered, after I built a new business and said, hey, I play cello and I sing, quickly discovered that I get very emotional at weddings and singing at weddings is not my thing. So I did want to say before, sorry. Just want to dedicate that song to my beautiful husband. So, anyway, thanks Tim, you do so much for me and you're so supportive, so thank you so much. So I'm going to finish with clocks. Just, yep, all good.
Let's have another round of applause for April. That was fantastic. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our concert this morning, and can I invite you again, if you'd like to stay behind, there are some leftover morning tea. There is some leftover morning tea, so please stay behind afterwards. This is going to stand in the sun, or feel free to stay in here. Stay as long as you like, catch up. If you want to follow up more of what I was saying earlier, feel free to come and grab me. If you want to talk to April, I'm sure she'd love to explain how to play the cello to you. That'd be nice and easy for 5 minutes. So thanks for coming, and I hope to see you in September at our next event. Thanks.